1 out of 2 girls stop playing sports in their early teens. Many girls suffer a severe crisis in confidence and self-esteem during adolescence, and they're more likely to quit challenging activities because they don't view themselves as being good enough. Well, now Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has teamed up with the organization FitSpirit. Their goal is to help teenage girls discover the fun that comes with being active and healthy with their friends. Every year, FitSpirit organizes running events, bringing together thousands of teenage girls. And on Tuesday, about 4,000, in fact, will take part in a run in Montreal. And Sophie Gregoire Trudeau is joining us from our studio in Montreal this morning. Thank you so much for coming back to Your Morning.
Hello, Marie. It's such a pleasure to be here. I just want to say, too, as a Montrealer, I came down from Ottawa driving, and I saw the level of the water on the highway. I couldn't believe what was happening. And so my heart really goes out to all the families who are struggling. I just absolutely wanted to say it.
Good to hear from you on that one, especially because we've been following those stories all weekend long. Let's turn to FitSpirit.
Incredible.
Yeah, how does it work to get girls into sports, and not only that, but to stick with it?
Well, it's a mission. It's a mission in itself, because as we all know, when we go through teenage years, we go through tough times. And sometimes we let go of the physical activity that's in our life. And that's what's happening with 1 out of 2 Canadian girls between 12 and 17. And this means when you stop doing sports, your body becomes fatigued. And sometimes, you'll try to get that fatigue out of your body with alcohol, caffeine, tobacco. Bad idea. And then those substances affect your sleep pattern. They affect your mental state. So you can really get into kind of a vicious cycle when you stop exercising. And that is a huge cost, not only to girls, but to society as a whole. And as a mental health advocate, it's so important to be able to have a balanced lifestyle, to get to know who you are through your life. And physical activity does that, because it tests your physical, but also your mental limits and psychological limits. So it's a great tool to be able to get to know yourself in a culture that most of the time tries to impose, cultural standards on you, and girls are suffering, and I hear it everywhere. So physical activity has to be part of our lives. It's important, and it's really a part of mine.
Sophie, I guess then the question is why, when we know all the benefits of being involved in sports, why are so many girls leaving at such a crucial age?
Because there's so much going on in our teenage years. We all remember the stories that we went through, and we all have our own paths of suffering. As someone who suffered from an eating disorder when I was younger, I talked to a lot of girls on, self-esteem, body image, their sense of worth. And there are so many events in our lives when we are teenagers that affect our mental state. And I would say that physical activity is a way to be able to make good decisions about who you are and in your life in general. So it's just so important to continue to be active. And being active doesn't mean that you have to be, part of a competitive team. It just means doing something that you enjoy doing. And this is what FitSpirit is about. It's really about the non-competitive, empathetic, compassionate atmosphere in which girls get together to practice sports. And that's an amazing message, an amazing way to interact with your peers. And sometimes, through a race, through FitActive and FitSpirit, I've seen the girls react. Some of them cry, some of them laugh, some of them get together with people in their own class that they didn't even know. So it really is a uniting approach through sport for girls.
We know that you are a certified yoga instructor. Your family is very active, but what kinds of sports do you do with your daughter, Ella Grace?
What kind of sports do we not do? We try everything. Every morning I've winterized my bike, and I bike to daycare to bring Hadrian on the way in, on the way out. And at one point when, it was winter and I heard, Mama, Mama, my forehead hurts. Maybe I thought I pushed it a little bit too much. Maybe it was minus 27, not such a good idea. But sports are really part of my life. And with Ella Grace, whether it's hiking or swimming or paddle boarding or just walking in the woods, walking to school sometimes together, biking, we're always willing to try just about anything.
Do your kids do any organized sports?
Yes, so Xavier is on a basketball team. He does karate. Ella does dance, and she's starting tennis, and so is Xavier as well. Sometimes I think that, for each kid, it's really important to listen to their needs and what they like to do instead of just putting them in a competitive sport just because they have to do it. So I think that as parents, it's really important to see, what is your child like? What brings them happiness? And also, what doesn't bring them happiness? If they don't like practicing a sport, well, it's a bad start, because they have to follow fall in love with their bodies, with themselves, with their limits and their capabilities. And through physical activity, it's how you discover what you're capable of. It's not just physical activity. So for me, it's a huge life lesson, and it's also a way to have deep conversations about how we build our worth, our self-worth, and how we can help ourselves to be able to believe in ourselves in a society that sometimes tells us to, look like somebody else, act like somebody else, and boys and girls lack very healthy mentors sometimes in our society. So I think that they have to become their own mentors, their own teachers, and we have to encourage them as parents and people who surround them to believe in themselves. That's the great lesson.
Madame Trudeau, good speaking to you this morning. Thanks for joining us again on your morning.
Same here, and keep moving.
All right, if you'd like to know more about FitSpirit, and there's events coming up throughout the month of May, you can head to our website, yourmorning.ca.